my dad was that guy कि जब किसी की family शादी हो रही होती, he was the guy playing ढोलकी.
Oh.
So when we were kids, me and my brother, we both handed the chammach की ढोलकी पे chammach मारा. So that's how, like, you know, at a young age we knew rhythm क्या होता है. Drummer makes or breaks any band.
Agreed.
Like if the drummer is good, he can keep everyone else on track.
He'll kill the entire vibe.
Yeah, absolutely. I basically started working in studios. I helped, basically I ran a studio for Sushmit Sen, who was the guitar player of Indian Ocean. So that's where I kind of cut my teeth on actually being thrown out into the real world.
Bhuvan Bam.
Oh yeah.
Who had shitty quality mobile phone camera but amazing content. Like people would laugh out loud watching his videos.
Absolutely.
But they were really bad quality videos. But once he got famous, he got money and everything, he upgraded his camera.
Sure.
People started actually disliking his videos कि नहीं हमें वो बुरी quality वाला ही चाहिए.
ये brief है, ऐसा कुछ चाहिए, you know, and it's always something completely different. Somebody wants rock and roll, somebody wants dubstep, somebody wants Sufi rock.
और last में feedback में आया सर मजा नहीं आया. सब कुछ बढ़िया है, मजा नहीं. What is more fun? Creating music for advertising or being a full-time musician or
more fun is being a musician, a full-time musician. You get to travel, you get, you know, you get to be on stage, you know, people are there cheering you on. That's always more fun. Versus you're in the studio, you're by yourself, which is also a completely different experience, and I enjoy it very much. I'm not playing any chords right now, but like if I go 1, 2, 3, 1 and a 1 and a 1 and a 2 and a. Music is always about collaboration. It's always special to collaborate with people. But at some point, you know, it has to be about your message, about what you're putting out.
And that's a brand new episode of Wassup Aabir. Today, joining me in conversation is Chaitanya Bhalla. He is a trained, practicing and a fantastic guitar player. Along with that, he's an amazing, I vouch for this fact that he's an amazing advertising jingle composer. So today we'll be talking about advertising, we'll be talking about the entire band gig wala scene kya hai. Welcome to ABP Live Podcast. Kaise hain aap?
Thank you so much. I'm very well, and thank you for that introduction.
Yaar, for a lot of people, music comes very naturally to them, like family mein flow hota hai, yahan wahan ghumta hai. And for a lot of people, it's more out of passion कि भाई किसी को देखा or you saw a gig like a star or your favorite star performing, and that's how the music is transformed into your life. How did that happen to you? What is your journey?
So it was a bit of both actually.
Okay.
When I was a kid, ever since I was a kid, my dad was that guy कि जब किसी की family शादी हो रही होती, he was the guy playing ढोलकी.
Oh.
So when we were kids, me and my brother, we both handed the chammach ki ढोलकी पे chammach मारा. So that's how, like, you know, at a young age we knew rhythm क्या होता है.
Very cool.
And that's kind of where it started. Okay. And then of course at some point we discovered rock and roll. We said, okay, Led Zeppelin bhi hai cheez, like. So that took it into, I want to play electric guitar, I want to play rock music, and over the years then, you know, as musicians do, then you want to learn more about theory, and
true,
you want to study jazz, and
when did that happen? Like,
so that
learning
happened
theory.
Also, like, I want to say around the age of like 15 probably.
Okay.
When, like, back in the day we didn't have YouTube and we didn't have the kind of resources that you have now on the internet.
True.
So you'd go to these random forums, guitar forums, things like that, and you'd literally read guitar lessons.
Mohalle wale guitar, sir.
I mean,
Rajesh guitar classes.
At that time I was entirely self-taught, whatever you want to make of that. And we would just be like a bunch. In fact, I was in boarding school at that time, so like we would get like 1 hour of internet.
Every day?
Not every day, like
once
maybe
a week?
Yeah, twice a week, thrice a week.
Okay.
And as we became more senior, we'd say, okay, exactly.
मैं चलाऊंगा.
So it started off like that, and that's where we kind of became nerdy about music.
Wow.
But yeah, like, and then later on, then post, like I went to DU for college.
Okay.
वो भी music.
What did you learn there?
I didn't learn much other than.
नहीं बोला क्या पढ़ाई किया?
I did eco honors.
I
barely got through that.
ठीक है.
वो भी music कोटा पे admission हुआ था. And then post college, I went to the US to Musicians Institute. I studied guitar theory. I did music production there. And around that time is when I decided ki, it's one thing to want to play music and be passionate about playing and being an artist. I've always wanted to be a producer and somebody who wants to make, physical recordings. And because when I hear a song, that's what inspired me. Ki you hear a killer song, उसमें feel आ जाती है, and then you're like कि ये कैसे हुआ? Like, and that's what I wanted to get into, and slowly and steadily.
Wow, yeah, sounds interesting. A lot of people think यार गाना बजाना क्या ही है? मतलब for a lot of people who have never seen a music studio, who have like a lot of our audience as well, who may not have seen a music studio, how a recording is done. वो कभी बस YouTube में देखे होंगे कि सोनू निगम गाना गा रहा है और वो एक ऐसा कांच लगा हुआ है, उसके पीछे सोनू निगम है, यहाँ पे कोई बस ऐसा ऊपर नीचे कर रहा है.
आशिकी 2 में होता है ना.
हाँ, जैसे आशिकी 2 में होता है.
That's basically what the.
But that is not how a music is produced.
Absolutely not.
It's a lot and lot of efforts, a lot of takes, first take, third take.
In fact, my own dad, he was most surprised when he learned कि सब लोग साथ में recording नहीं करते. And they like anyone from their generation, they would say कि ये तो cheating होता है, तुम one by one पहले drums किया.
Because उनकी generation में सब साथ में recording करते थे ना.
करते तो थे. That's how it started.
पहले there was no DAW as such. DAW for all those people like a software जिस पे हम गाना production करते हैं.
Digital audio workstation.
पहले
that only came when there was digital media.
तब एनालॉग मीडिया था. तब तो सब पूरा ensemble एक साथ बैठेगा, लता जी माइक लेंगी और वो गाना जाएंगे और पीछे पूरा.
And वो mix भी नहीं होता था because सब 1 2 3 माइक साथ में हो रहे.
साथ में होते थे.
So you'd have to place कि drummer is the loudest, उसको पीछे कर दो. फिर कौन next है, and vocalist has to be right up front, तो उनको सामने रखो.
And I guess वही रीजन है कि आज भी वो बैंड्स में आप देखना ड्रमर सबसे पीछे रहेगा, जो कि मतलब मुझे थोड़ा वियर्ड लगता है, बट यार उसको सबसे कम लाइमलाइट मिलती है. I was talking to a fellow musician who came on the show in the last episode, a couple of episodes before, and he said कि यार मतलब वो ड्रमर बेचारा इतनी मेहनत करता है, इतनी शिद्दत से मेहनत करता है, उसको लाइमलाइट सबसे कम मिलती है.
Drummer makes or breaks any band.
Agreed.
Like if the drummer is good, he can keep everyone else on track.
He'll kill the entire vibe.
Yeah, absolutely.
वाह. तो वहाँ से स्टार्ट हुआ म्यूजिक की जर्नी.
वहाँ से स्टार्ट हुआ. And then so I basically started working in studios. I helped basically I ran a studio for Sushmit Sen, who was the guitar player of Indian Ocean. So that's where I kind of cut my teeth on actually being thrown out into the real world. No, like LA में तो I went studied, I did some internships there. वहाँ it's a very different scene. They have all the equipment in the world. They have all the the best acoustic treatment in the room. तुम थोड़ी गलती भी कर लो वो पता नहीं लगेगा इतना. Then when you come back and you're like, oh, now you're on your own. So now you have to get a good recording sound. You don't have millions of dollars worth of जो वहाँ किसी का studio है. So now you have to figure it out.
यहाँ blood and sweat actually निकलता है.
Exactly. And then over the years you learn कि like it's not always about the most pristine quality of recording. Of course, that's never gonna hurt. You always want the cleanest recording. But it's more about capturing a vibe. Like there was a famous example of there's this musician Devendra Banhart. So in fact you see him roaming around in India quite often under the radar. He's a very chill guy like that. He'll be chilling in Banaras. Nobody knows he's here. He's not playing any gigs or anything. But his first demos, he called himself on his own answering machine and he played those demos and they recorded on the tape of the answering machine. That's how he got his first kind of record. So it's like
what a story, man.
Yeah,
what a story.
So it's stories like that where you say, okay, so it's not actually about the equipment that someone has. It's like what are you doing with that equipment? How are you putting it together?
Agreed. So true. A very good example in the video space, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, is Govan Bam.
Oh yeah.
Who had shitty quality mobile phone camera but amazing content. Like people would laugh out loud watching his videos.
Absolutely.
But they were really bad quality videos. But once he got famous, he got money and everything, he upgraded his camera.
Sure.
People started actually disliking his videos कि नहीं हमें वो बुरी quality वाला ही चाहिए क्योंकि content बहुत natural लगता था कि हाँ कोई हमारे type का ही बंदा जो.
Absolutely. In fact, the flip side of that is also कि like you were talking about back in the day was all analog recording.
Yeah.
एक console होता था वो analog होता था. उसमें the recording would be recorded to tape, and it was all tape.
All taped.
So now, once it became digital, everything became really clean. So now in today's date, people are trying to emulate कि वो tape का sound अच्छा था. Let's put a tape plug-in or whatever. Like let's make it sound like tape, and it'll sound a little cooler, थोड़ा vintage लगेगा.
हम old school में जा रहे हैं ना थोड़ा. मतलब a lot of songs are being recreated जो वैसे वाले vibe में आ रहे हैं.
It's a classic vibe. It'll never go out of style. It's just you get a depth and you get a feeling. It's a feeling.
Yeah,
again,
it's like, a very emotional kind of a thing. People are very how should I say? They are very दिल से बहुत connected है.
Nostalgia होता है.
Nostalgia होता है सही.
Yeah, absolutely.
But even for Gen Zs and millennials, वो वाले गाने will be relevant.
Always. Like another example is like in suppose what's the movie I'm thinking of? I'm thinking of Shrek.
Okay.
Shrek is a movie like when it came out, at the time it was a kids movie, not necessarily a kids movie, but aimed at a younger audience. But उसमें when they want to show कि rock and roll हो रहा है, कुछ वो ताबड़तोड़ कुछ दिखाना है, then they play Led Zeppelin. Like even though that movie must have come out in 2008, 2009, something like that, they want to play a track which is from 1969. Agreed. Because once that's established, that's going to be it. True. Like sure, there's new ways of expressing the same thing.
Agreed.
But that classic, it's always classic. Like that'll never go out of style.
Since you mentioned that you were in LA and you studied there, you came back here. My question to you is, how exactly both of these industry different? Not in terms of equipment and everything or budget, but in terms of attitude.
Sure.
Attitude wise कितना different है या vision को लेके कितना different है?
So it depends. Like if you're looking at the structure of like how the industry is sorted, like I mean this is.
But you were part of the music industry or the advertising there?
Over there it was like I was a fresh graduate, so I
जो मिलेगा करना है.
जो मिलेगा कर लेगा. So I was like recording indie bands. I was actually assisting a producer whose studio I used to intern at.
Okay.
And some days I would go there and he would be like, "Acha, today we're not going to record any music." He had this crazy like bike, like this Harley or something, and he would be like, "Today we're going to work on my bike." So I'd be like, "Okay, cool." Like
work on my bike means
means he was like tuning up his knee, not not like that, but like he's tuning something, he's putting some custom thing. So sometimes it wasn't about music. In fact, like if you're an intern at a studio, it's like coffee le aao, like you're doing runs for the senior producer. So like at that time I was just like a fresh grad, so like I didn't really get much say in what was going on. But in terms of like if I look at a high level thing of how it differs, I think over here the biggest difference is the music industry here has always been like a extension of the film industry.
True.
So in terms of like, and we can go into more details about distribution and how that has changed over the years.
I understand what you say. Yeah, it has always been an extension. It has always been a support to the entire film industry.
Absolutely. And in fact supported by the film industry, because like in terms of like again distribution is what is one of the main kind of factors in how they promote music, how that music is getting out to people, where it's reaching to, and our country is also very diverse. Everyone speaks different language. You go few hundred kilometers any direction, language completely changes. So like it's different ways how you can promote what kind of music can be, how receptive people are to different kinds of music. Over there, like they've still had like it's a very different. The main thing that I found the difference was that in terms of songwriting and A&R, like within record labels. Now I'm probably talking about like a little bit before our current Spotify and Apple Music generation, when it's still like fully, and we can even talk. This is a very long
discussion
thing you've picked out here. But basically there, in terms of songwriting, when you have a major label artist, first we can talk about the major label artists.
Like Taylor Swift.
Yeah, you're talking about the high level artists. Okay. So in their thing, most of the times, of course there are a few of them who write their own songs, but a lot of times they have a full infrastructure of, they have BMI, ASCAP, they have associations of songwriters. So you have a lot of people who, to make a living, they just write songs, and those songs get pitched and placed within the
album.
through the record label.
They're
The record label.
ghostwriters, you can say.
Slight difference. You could call them ghostwriter. Ghostwriter would refer more to कि you've hired somebody specifically to write my song.
Okay.
Here you're not hiring. You're just going to a
just
bank.
a bank. You just take a song and create.
And you're not doing the label is doing. The label says कि this song will work well for this artist. Of course, depending on how big the artist is, they might get a say in what's happening, and they might say, I want to write my own song. But there's that thing. So over here, the biggest difference was कि again, like it's dependent on the movie. So when the film was being produced, they'd say कि he'll write the lyrics and this is the music director. These two will put it together and they'll choose their vocalist, or they'll kind of put it together under the umbrella of जौन सी फिल्म बन रही है उसके लिए. So that independent music scene or industry, whatever you want to classify it as, that hasn't evolved up until recently.
Okay.
Up until the time when they said कि okay, now music distribution is going to be democratized. Anyone can upload their music to Apple Music, and we all have a fair chance. You know, like I say that quote unquote, but like I don't want to sound snarky or anything. But everyone gets a fair chance to put your music out. You know, like
still a very debatable topic that whether everybody gets a fair chance or not, because
sure.
यार ये रिश्ते वाला धंधा बहुत है. मतलब if you ask talk to artists, everybody will say कि यार मेरा वहाँ जुगाड़ है इसलिए मेरे गाने को ऊपर रैंकिंग मिल जाता है. वो सब है, वो होता है. It still happens across the globe, I guess. That's a phenomenon. But yeah, you do have solved that problem. Spotify, Apple Music, they have certainly solved a pretty big portion of the problem.
Absolutely. Like, so on one level it is democratized to that point. So like, again, the biggest change between just the previous generation and now was कि the means of distribution was kind of, or the means of editorial and distribution was kind of held by TV, radio, mass media.
Yeah.
Okay, so that, because of the internet, that's been a little bit diluted to say कि okay, now we have many.
तुम नहीं रखोगे तो मेरे पास एक दूसरा तरीका भी है.
हाँ,
जो सबके लिए available.
Yeah, we might not have the same digital ad spend budget as, you know, a
big
major
company,
major label, or a, you know, like we might not have the same reach as T-Series, but we have an outlet, and depending on how we promote and as you said, as you mentioned, Bhuvan Bam is a great example of someone who did something innovative.
Yeah.
It's not strictly music, but so, and
he's also a very good writer.
He is. In fact, I met him at a show, like some random corporate show we were playing. So I was playing with Prabdeep, the rapper. So I was playing guitar at that show, and I saw him. I said, "Oh, I'm a fan of your video." So I made it a point, hey, you know what, we're playing right after. So, and really sweet guy. I will say this. He came to the table right up front. Nobody from that entire corporation really cared much.
Was he a very big star?
He was pretty big, right? Okay. He was one of the guys.
No, this is like post Bhuvan Bam era, like when he became a star, right?
I want to say it's probably 2018, 19.
Oh, then he was pretty big.
He was pretty big, right?
He was pretty big.
And just because I went up, said, hey, you know, I like your videos, we're playing right up next. And he said, I'm going to come watch. And he made a point, he came up front and he sat and he watched.
Very good, yeah.
So I was like, you know.
Very sweet guy.
Yeah, that's kind of nice, you know. Like,
what were you playing there?
We were playing Prabdeep's music,
okay.
Basically. We were just performing his music as a band.
Okay.
So usually usually he performs with with a DJ, and he's a rapper.
Yeah.
So there was this project that we were doing called 1-8 project.
Okay.
And hopefully it'll come around again. Okay. But basically it was a live performance of.
1-8 means 18, something in that.
Yeah, so New Delhi 1-8, like hip hop mein hota hai ki like you. What's your hood? Where you from?
Okay,
so this is my name, you know, like.
Very cool.
But
काफी नई चीजें सीखने को मिल रही है मुझे यार. Have you tried singing वाला scene?
I do sing, and a lot of the jingles you never know it was me, but I'm there.
कोई सुनाओ ना, मतलब ऐसा कुछ जो कभी पता ही नहीं चला है.
वो मैं acoustic guitar बजाऊंगा तो वो same feel नहीं आएगी,
but हाँ ठीक है, मतलब I'm fine with that, like a slide mellow version of.
I would say नहीं वो feel नहीं आएगी. वो rock and roll का, there was these 2-3 times when it was like these oftentimes I get these bikes and cars का brands. So like when they want rock and roll, they say अच्छा हमें कुछ cool rock and roll चाहिए. फिर इस लौंडे को बुलाओ, ये इसको rock and roll तो चाहिए. Like so there was this cafe, Hero Cafe Race, वो IPL के time में आता था.
Okay.
Recently there was this Suzuki Fronx का ad. Which was again IPL. IPL is like the biggest event
तब
of our country.
दो महीने पहले से तो एकदम jam packed होते हो.
Yeah, and that's the time when I can do some marketing also. I can go to people like be like, oh, वो ये वाला ad मैंने बनाया. That's the only time they recognize कि oh, अच्छा, this is your voice. Okay, like.
But is it a good industry to start your career with? Because
advertising, I think it's much more structured than the music industry ever has been.
Which is true.
So oftentimes people ask me, oh, you do music for a living, that's so cool. And I say, to be honest, I do advertise. I work in advertising or marketing. It's either marketing content, advertising content. But not to say that I haven't spent many years building my bones as a musician, playing with bands, touring. So with like Scavengers, for example, that was my band. So with Scavengers, we did a lot of touring. We went, we played in festivals in UK, Spain, Australia, Bahrain. Like we got to travel all over India. Like कहीं northeast चले गए, कहीं कोची में बजा लिया. We traveled the length and breadth of India. So that's always like kind of the best thing that I can hope for out of playing music is I get to travel, I get to meet people, I get to perform for people. Like,
makes sense.
So that's always with the.
सबसे crazy experience किसके साथ रहा है? मतलब
I don't think I can tell you that on camera, man.
अरे यार मतलब crazy मतलब मजा आ गया हो कि यार क्या tour था?
So the craziest tour was actually with the Scavengers in UK. So what we did was, and this is
sorry.
No worries. It's almost unheard of for a band from India to. Now it's become quite open. But like 2016, 17, 18 and 19, we were basically, our main market became UK.
Acha.
We played a lot of festivals.
It's an English band.
It's an English band. In fact, more specifically, it's a ska band. When ska is a very, it's like not a lot of people.
I don't know what ska is.
Yeah, exactly. Not a lot of people. Ska, SKA. So, so it's a derivative of reggae and punk. And it's kind of.
कैसा sound करता है कुछ बता दो ना.
So like basically it's a very like
very
groovy upbeat.
Okay.
The whole point is it's a like dance kind of vibe, and it mixes up with punk music, punk ethos more than the music.
You are a true music geek, I will say.
I'm a total geek. I'm like, we call it a musicologist, because after a point it's like either you're that artist who doesn't care about worldly things, and I'd rather be meditating in the mountains, and I never really fully relate to that the purest artist. I've always more related to producer, like, and I'd rather create physical recordings, like that's more my passion, and understand what music is. I was more of a scholar of music, I guess you can say. Okay. Like, I'd rather like.
Are you one of those who can see like colors or shapes when you play chords?
I mean, sure, absolutely. Huh? Like it's not like I'm not all the way. There's a specific term for it.
Yeah. I was watching this interview of John Mayer. He said कि मुझे ऐसा कुछ कलर्स दिखता है, like C बजेगा तो ये कलर दिखेगा.
Physically नहीं दिखता. I don't have perfect pitch, but I do have relative pitch. Like, so it's a slight difference.
Okay.
So like perfect pitch is कि वो कुछ भी बजा दिया and you're like कुछ ये क्या है? That's a C sharp. I like that's not me. That's the Charlie Puth thing.
Oh बाप रे.
But
मतलब कुछ भी आ गया. You can.
हाँ वो कहीं कुछ bell बजा and you're like, oh that's a B. Like I don't have that. Like, unfortunately, I don't have that. But like, but what I do have is a understanding of what are relative pitches, like intervals, like like you have a octave, like you double the frequency, like, but then the rest of the thing, you're trying to figure out what are the intervals. This is a major 6 or a major 7. Like, so you're trying to figure out.
इतना समझ में आ जाता है.
इतना तो फटाक से समझ आता है. It's like it's a required skill after a point. Like especially in the studio when you're trying to figure out कि this one note is sticking out कि कौन सा note है. You have to be able to quickly sweep and search for that note and say, okay, this is this note. Or if you're trying to figure out a song, कहीं chords बजा दिए and say, ये quickly learn it. So also what I did what I have done for many years is played as a sessions guitarist for other slightly more famous artists, or Prabdeep was an example. I've also mixed for a lot of guys, like so Sushmit Sen was an example, Pratik Kuhad was an example, so I mixed for these guys.
Pratik का कौन सा गाना mix किया है?
Not the recordings, but his live shows. So I've done tons of live shows, maybe, I don't know, 30-40 live shows with him. Like, so, and
people are crazy about him, right?
Oh, absolutely. He's a cult now. It's a cult.
He's a cult now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, also very sweet guy, like very chill guy. But yeah, it's like a required skill to be able to, work out what are the chords required for this. And in fact, like, especially when you're working in ads and jingles and producing for a brand, you're producing an anthem, you're on some corporate deadlines. It's like, we need it yesterday. ये brief है, ऐसा कुछ चाहिए, and it's always something completely different. Somebody wants rock and roll, somebody wants dubstep, somebody wants Sufi rock.
और last में feedback में आया सर मजा नहीं आया. सब कुछ बढ़िया है, मजा नहीं.
Touch wood. I think the years of experience say कि अच्छा इसमें अब क्या हुआ?
This is a very lame kind of feedback which a lot of people in advertising get.
Yeah.
कि यार client बोल रहा है मजा नहीं आया. बोला भाई मजा नहीं आया is not a feedback. मतलब.
It's true, and it's like it's very subjective when you're just presenting someone with music. But over the years, like what I learned is कि especially with ad agencies and stuff, like my joke about it is कि they require you to speak agency. Like if you just speak English or you speak music, they don't care. They want you to speak agency. Ki how are we going to integrate the brand into this and all? That's more important than the like how good or bad the music is. And then it comes down to a very, again, now we're going to some high level stuff here, but like who's to say what is good music or bad music? And it's subjected to everyone.
Agreed.
You might like something, I might hate it. I might like something, you might hate it. So after a point, it's like anyone can tell कि अच्छा ये off है. Anyone can tell कि the pitch is slightly off.
हाँ, मतलब वो शायद थोड़ा सा
singer bass रहा है वो पता लग जाता है. But after a point, if it's all fine, वो everything's in tune, the harmony is correct. Then after a point, what's a better song? Like like what do you like better? फिर it's about कि what's the message being spoken about.
Agreed.
Is this guy, like, and we see it in all kinds of popular music today. I don't want to be a hater or anything, but like in some genres, it's about, look how much money I have, look how many girls I have. That's the most PC way I can put it. It's about look how alpha I am. That's one genre of music.
Yeah.
That doesn't appeal to everyone. Some people prefer ki, like the soft approach, look how beautiful everything is.
True.
And to some people, they're just like...
It's very subjective in nature.
It's very subjective in nature. So who's to decide what's a good song or a bad song? But when it's for a brand, it's a little more straightforward, because it's like, how does this integrate our brand philosophy? And if you can integrate that into a track, then, like as long as it's in tune and it's got a groove to it, it's not rocket science. It's about breaking it down.
Makes sense.
It's music theory, not rocket science.
What is more fun? Creating music for advertising, or being a full-time musician or
more fun is being a musician, a full-time musician. You get to travel. You get you get to be on stage.
Yeah.
People are there cheering you on. That's always more fun. Versus you're in the studio, you're by yourself, which is also a completely different experience.
Yeah.
And I enjoy it very much. Because that's a different kind of thing. You're getting a serotonin high of like listening to.
बना दिया bro
Yeah, you're listening to something. You're able to tweak stuff and say, okay, let me change this one note. Let me. Sometimes I would sing the song myself. You were asking, do I sing? So sometimes I would sing it myself just to put the composition together.
The skeleton.
And then I would present it to somebody who's a playback singer. So like sometimes I've worked with like Anand Bhaskar or with...
hey, what a lovely singer, bro.
Fantastic singer, and again,
I guess
amazing
Anand
guy.
Bhaskar is the one who introduced me to you.
Oh, really?
I think
okay.
so. I think so.
Quite
Anand Bhaskar also did the music for Mirzapur.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
He's a fantastic singer.
Very nice.
Fantastic
Amazing.
singer. And really cool producer as well. He's been
okay,
producing
I don't know he's a producer. I know that, but this is his full-time gig. I was not aware about it.
So
I love the songs of Anand Bhaskar project यार.
Yeah.
जो उसका band है.
Absolutely.
Oh भाई.
Absolutely.
क्या गाने हैं, मतलब क्या गाने हैं. I love those songs.
Yeah. And again, really, chill individual to.
I have never met him, so
yeah.
Must be. The song speaks.
So sometimes it's him, sometimes it could be whoever the vocalist, whatever works. Because oftentimes it's like, again, advertising music is based on a brief. They have an agenda. It's based on an agenda. Ki we need to kind of, this is the message that
सबसे weirdest brief क्या है आज तक?
The weirdest brief was कि हमें चाहिए, this is going to be the weirdest brief of all time. हमें चाहिए सारे जहां से अच्छा का dubstep remix चाहिए.
अरे भाई साहब.
Right? Like it's just like, that was never going to work out in the first place.
But did you do it or not?
I did not do that one, no.
वो हुआ finally?
नहीं,
No clue.
I don't think it even happened. Who knows?
मतलब कुछ चीजों को किल नहीं करना चाहिए. मतलब आप उसके नए covers बना लो, कुछ rendition बना लो, but dubstep तो थोड़ा मतलब.
So like exactly, after a point it's also kind of, you have to first kind of have that conversation to say, okay, this is something, what's the idea behind this? Why would you want to do this? Like, and if it's not really making sense, like, then it's not going to work. Like, that was just probably the weirdest one of them all. Like, there have been a lot more reasonable briefs that we've had over the years.
You were mentioning about tweaking, like you record a sample, you record a pilot, and you tweak your voice कि ऐसा ये note सही नहीं है ऐसा है.
Sure.
I really want to talk about autotune.
Sure.
मतलब ये autotune और melodyne क्या है? If I am a dummy who have no clue, just explain autotune for me.
Autotune is something कि थोड़ा सा बेसुरा चला गया सुर.
थोड़ा सा कि
I've dealt with all extremes, and to be honest, there's no shame in autotune. There's nothing wrong with it. Like, if it was sometimes, like as a biggest example of autotune, there's a specific name that is synonymous with autotune.
Okay.
And that's an artist called T-Pain.
T-Pain.
The American artist, singer, rapper, whatever. So for a while, he became synonymous with the word autotune. So I would say, ये बंदा बिना autotune. But actually, when you hear the guy sing without autotune, he's a next level singer.
Like kick-ass singer.
Kick ass, like you won't even imagine. He can sing like Robert Plant. He can sing anything.
Okay.
But he made it his style. So it depends. Like it depends on what the use is. Are you trying to cover it up? And then sometimes I've been in the studio. Like so, I spent like, as I said, like my formative kind of production years were I was just running studios. Like.
Okay.
I may not have had the best mix skills, but I knew that this is how you record clean audio. This is what the band wants or whatever. According to what you want, मैं आपको करके दे दूँगा. So sometimes it would just be anything. Like कोई भी आ रहा है, sure.
गवा देंगे आपको. But we digress from the topic. What exactly is autotune?
It's basically an algorithm that figures out कि आपने ये note यहाँ पे गाया, because the software can tell कि आपने 440 hertz की जगह आपने 447 hertz पे गया, तो थोड़ा sharp हो गया, थोड़ा flat हो गया. So it says, okay, this is where it is, and then how much do you want to bring it back? How much vibrato do you want? Like is it like is it shaking? It could be wherever. It could be anywhere on the spectrum, but it'll bring it into intonation. So it's a tool, to be honest. It's a tool, much like any other tools. Like there's no shame really. Like unless like you're talking about like. It's the bones of who that artist is. Then sure, it's like,
But have you met people who has absolutely no clue about singing and they said कि मुझे गाना गाना है, मेरा गाना produce कर दो.
100%.
And गाना भी क्या like power autotune लगा के.
Oftentimes in the studio there would be people, as we discussed right at the start of this, what is the image of a recording studio? इसकी वो मैंने आशिकी 2 में देखा था. कि वो स्टूडियो में है, बंदा माइक लगा है, वो गा रहा है, he's looking the part. So like that is kind of the stereotype of what it is. So I've spent enough sessions with people who just they don't want to make music, they don't want to be an artist, they just want to say ki, hey look, I sing, and they'll bring a karaoke track and they just want to make a video of themselves just to share it. It's the same.
पैसे के लिए क्या क्या करना पड़ता है प्रभु?
नहीं, पैसे भी नहीं. It's more like it's the same category for me as someone doing a TikTok dance. It doesn't mean anything.
But just कर देते हैं.
Yeah, you're just doing it for fun, doing it for your friends. Then it's okay. Who am I to judge?
ठीक है.
Because music is it's different for it's different for everyone. Some people they don't want to perform for
live
audience or something, but they like music.
And they like flaunting it on social media, maybe.
Yeah,
why not?
Sure. And there's enough people who they have a corporate life and they just want to go home on the weekends. They like singing the songs that they love, and no judgment, man.
Yeah, makes sense.
If you a lot of people, there was a study about how beyond the age of 30 you stop discovering new music. So some people, they just want to listen to what they've always known and that's what they like.
Really?
Yeah, because and it's that's a study. It's not a...
I want to break this study, bro, because I want to discover new songs every day.
Exactly, right? It's not a hard and fast, of course.
It will certainly vary, but majority actually stops.
Absolutely. Oh. Because what you grow up on, that it has an impact on you at a young age, so that's what sticks
and very
with
emotional
you.
Impact.
Yeah, exactly.
Very emotional impact.
That's when you're fully hormonal at a younger age or whatever.
You actually मुझे याद आता है कि आप ना गानों को किसी ना किसी इंसिडेंट के साथ रिलेट भी करते हो.
Absolutely.
Like the first time you went to, maybe I came to this office, or I spoke to my boss, or I hired somebody, or there was a shoot. I can actually recollect that song to that particular incident. और वो आपके
जब वो गाना बजता है, you're taken back.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's true.
True. अच्छा, so this was autotune. What is Melodyne?
Melodyne is autotune. It's one of the brands of...
अच्छा, it is same.
Yeah.
कुछ अलग नहीं है.
Autotune itself is a brand.
Okay.
Melodyne is another brand that does the same thing. Waves Tune is another brand.
तो ये सब भाई बहन हैं.
Yeah, they're all vocal tuning plugins.
Okay.
But these are all brand names. कि वो कहीं Indian Oil से petrol लिया, कहीं भारत Petroleum से लिया. It's all petrol.
बहुत बढ़िया. What an analogy. What an analogy.
I should use cricket analogy.
बहुत बढ़िया. Now I wanted to move into a zone which may be beneficial for our audience, जो कि music में venture करना चाहती है. For a lot of people who, since you mentioned that they want to compose music or they want to learn music, they want to flaunt it, कि यार मेरा भी एक side passion है, I want to learn music, I sing this and that, and they want to move into music production or maybe like a singer-songwriter वाला space. Instrument चलो नहीं आता है, karaoke track पे गाना वाना गा लिया, but how to actually थोड़ा बहुत भी स्टार्ट करने के लिए क्या करना चाहिए, अप्रोच क्या होना चाहिए, कि पहले सीख लेना चाहिए या अगर सीख नहीं सकते तो थोड़ा बहुत काम चलाओ कैसे हो सकता है, just for the pure serotonin rush and
absolutely.
Happiness.
So, in fact, that's one of the core differences between being, for me, if someone comes to me and asks me this is what I want to do, how should I go about it, so in fact every now and then I do kind of advise somebody or the other. And it's the core difference between engineering audio and producing audio. So engineering just means ki you've got your song, I'll record it for you, I'll mix it and master it and give it back to you. Production is slightly different, where you kind of are expected to recommend ki okay, this is the style that I see is working for you, this is the kind of element that could work in your song, why don't you try this? It's a little more experimental with the music itself. As an audio engineer, you don't get much of a say on ki what's the musical aspect of it. So in fact, there was a friend of mine who about a year ago, he had come asking ki, I've worked in corporate for long enough and now I'm kind of fried of this, I've saved some money, I want to switch to music, how should I do it? So the first thing that I kind of start with is ki ask yourself, are you trying to be an artist, or are you just somebody who wants to play music for fun? You just want to learn music? There's no rules. You have all the resources on the internet. We live in a digital generation. You can find entire Berkeley ka curriculum.
Agreed.
Mil jata hai. It depends on what you want to do with it, how far you want to not in terms of career, but how far you want to go through what music theory is, because like if you're a singer who wants to maybe just play and sing songs, then it doesn't necessarily make sense to learn the Berkeley का curriculum. Like तुम्हें jazz सीख के क्या फायदा होगा? Like 251 सीख के तुम्हें कुछ नहीं मिलने वाला. Like you just want to first understand the style, understand the artistic side of things, and figure out what your message is. Like what you're trying to tell people. Like who are you? Like and again, like you could take it as a design problem. You could take it as a branding exercise. You look at yourself as a brand. If I'm here and I'm playing some guitar, and that's kind of the reason I was a little apprehensive about playing acoustic guitar.
Okay.
It's like, what's the message you want to put out? Like if I play acoustic guitar, it comes off as ki, oh, he's a singer-songwriter maybe, and that's not exactly what I do. But I mean, it's not that I don't play acoustic guitar.
I'm really sorry, and I apologize
to
you.
No, I'm not trying to call you out or anything. Like, and it's not that I don't play acoustic guitar.
Like, I know.
Every other
How did you start? You started with an acoustic or an
I started with an acoustic.
Okay.
Like,
which primarily majority of the people do, right?
Yeah, like wo sasta hota hai. It's like
And who gave you the first guitar?
My mom gave it to me. I asked my mom ki I want to learn. This was in class 8. I asked her ki like I want to learn acoustic, and I saw a friend of mine was playing acoustic guitar, and उसने मेरे को वो Summer of '69 का intro दिखाया था.
अरे भाई बहुत प्यारा intro है भाई, बहुत प्यारा intro है. I remember, this is nostalgia because I am taking back to my guitar classes when my teacher taught me how to play a Summer of '69 का intro. Yeah. D, then D sus2, then D sus4. Exactly. Wow, A sus2, A sus4. Very cool.
Exactly, that's a great starting point for acoustic.
It's a pretty difficult song, huh? It's not a very easy song.
I love those changes, like the. So it's very simple, but it's also very cool. Yeah.
Very.
Like, and Bryan Adams specifically. Like, when I was a kid, कहीं से like एक वो DVD आई थी of Bryan Adams Unplugged, and just the quality of production.
Unplugged, the original MTV Unplugged जो वहाँ
पुराना वाला, उसका एक DVD आया था, वो भी कहीं पालिका से आया था DVD. And I knew Bryan Adams, of course, but when we watched that DVD, it was me and my brother. We probably like, I don't know, 10, 12 years old or something. We watched that DVD and we were just floored. Ki, this band is so nice. Everything sounds so, like, we didn't even know how to.
It must be on YouTube, right?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, for all those people who are wondering किस गाने की बात करिए, just go to YouTube and search for Bryan Adams MTV Unplugged Summer of '69.
Yeah.
Oh, bhai.
And not just that song, there were some fantastic songs. He had Rod Stewart on one song. There was some fantastic.
I guess 5, 6
Melanie C on one song. वो कौन सा गाना? I forget the. I'm forgetting the names of the songs. But he had some fantastic collaborations. Like,
which was the first song you like compose? Or like
it was
played,
a song,
not composed?
Composed also, like we were in school and like me and my friend who used to sing in the school band, we made some track and we came up with a melody, and my brother used to write poetry, so we asked him to write us some lyrics, and
he's also into music, your brother?
No.
Okay.
He likes music. If I play some chords, he'll sing. But again, like it's where do you want what do you make of music? So for him, it's like he likes lyrical songs, folky stuff.
Agreed, my vibe.
Yeah. So like if I play American Pie, he'll gladly sing along. If I play some Bob Dylan, he'll gladly sing along. So
absolutely my vibe.
Yeah. So like, but he doesn't like play professionally.
He's not professionally into music.
Yeah. But
and your elder brother?
Yeah, my elder brother. But that's also where I got a lot of my music from when I was a kid. Like, when you have a 3 years older elder brother, then you don't really get to pick the songs that are getting.
He's the one. He's the
one picking, and then I'm like, acha, I don't like this one. Next, okay, this one I like. Then I'll write that one down. ये बाद में
बनाऊँ, सुनूँगा, बजाऊँगा.
Yeah. He introduced me to a lot of bands. Like back in the day, like when I was probably in class 6, class 7, he would be like, oh, this artist is, he introduced me to Dylan and Led Zeppelin also, like.
Yeah, episode का link जरूर उसको
and Snoop Dogg as well. Like he introduced me to Snoop Dogg when we were in class.
What a diff!
You know what we used to do? Like we would drive to school. Like we used to live in Saket, and school was in Barakhamba when I was a kid. So
this is modern school Barakhamba.
Yeah.
भाई साहब आप एकदम fancy schools से पढ़े हो.
Fancy का पता नहीं. My grandmom
but it's a very nice school.
My grandmom was a teacher and my aunts were teachers. So like it's like a long tradition. My mom was in modern school as well.
Okay.
So anyway, so we had like a hour-long commute every day to school. So what we used to do, this is days of tapes and stuff. So we would record the same song 3 times in a row, कि ताकि हमें rewind ना करना पड़े. And
Smart.
Snoop Dogg का we had some bootleg of Doggy Style, and उसके 3 बार the same track would be recorded on that cassette, so that कि वो rewind करने में time
ना waste हो. भाई वो एक अलग टास्क होता था, rewind के बटन दबाओ, टेप फट जाएंगे, कैसेट टूट जाएंगे, नहीं तो वो उंगली से लोग घुमा रहे हैं.
So exactly, उंगली से जो in fact when we were in boarding school, it was a similar situation. So we had cassettes and stuff. So वो seniors would listen to their tapes, and then वो हमारे dorm में आता था कि अच्छा इसको rewind करो.
वो पेन डाल के
लोग पेन से घुमा रहे हैं. We would be rewinding the tape so that guy could play his tape. उसके battery ना waste हो. वो battery was a essential commodity.
That was also a task. उससे battery ज़्यादा consume.
We weren't. Not everything had a chargeable battery.
For all the young kids who are watching this episode, they are like, ये क्या बातें कर रहे हो?
मतलब boomers talking.
हाँ मतलब ये क्या है cassette? Actually हमारे माँ बाप जब LPs की बात करेंगे तो हमें भी यही feel होगा कि
I mean LP became the kind of hipster thing also in between.
Agreed.
So I also inherited a lot of LPs from my dad and my uncle.
But you play them?
Not often, because so that's another debate, and I have very strong views about this. Like, so the thing about LPs is कि they always say, oh, it's the best quality, but
it is not.
It's not.
It's not.
It's not. It's analog quality, and it's like so.
Okay. Cassette were digital
quality. Can we get
quality.
Into some science
Cassettes were digital quality.
No, cassettes are also analog. Like,
lately,
you had a digital head on the thing, but the tape itself is tape. So we can get into some nerdy stuff here again if you want. So like when you have recorded music, the simplest thing is a sine wave. Okay, so if I play on a synthesizer, you can get a pure sine wave. So that shows up as a clear wave like this. Analog pe, there's the depth of that wave is just clear. It's analog, so it's like you have the full resolution of that wave. So when you convert something from analog to digital, that wave is basically, it has to be represented in zeros and ones. Okay. So that has to be mapped out. Every point on that curve has to be mapped out in digital.
Yeah.
So how many points are used to represent a curve is limited. Okay. So then you have bitrate, and this is where lossless and all these new terms which you see on Apple Music, Spotify and all, कि lossless quality है या कोई FLAC file सुनता है, कोई wave file सुनता है. So like that comes down to how many bits. Okay, and bits is again a term
you are certainly a nerd.
I'm a total nerd, and I love it. Like
that is something to flaunt.
It keeps me busy, I guess. And so depending on how many points you have to represent that wave, and there's ways that fewer points are through newer technologies. They're able to reproduce smooth curves on the wave, but it basically in digital you are limited to a certain number of hit points of how you represent that wave. So that's the biggest debate on ki why is a LP, why does that sound better than this? But actually, like even on LPs, you can't have too much dynamic range, because back in the day, if you had too much, like say, bass on your record, they would have incidents of ki the needle would in fact pop out of the thing. So there's issues with that.
I really want to get a gramophone, yaar. I really want to have a gramophone in my living room and just play a LP. It looks so stunning.
The vibe you get is real.
Soft.
Like even I have a very basic they have these reproductions of like classic looking ones. They're not insanely expensive.
But do they play?
They play. Like it depends like on, again, there's many things in the chain, like how nice are your amps, how nice are the speakers, how nice is the quality of the player itself. So it's a bit subjective, like, and it's always a little different, but that's also kind of the nerdiness of like a hi-fi collector. There are a lot of people who are collectors of hi-fi systems or whatever. Like, it's like another thing to nerd out on. Like, I personally, I find digital is better.
Agreed. It has eased out the work of a sound designer or a music producer as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
To the utmost level, I believe.
Absolutely. So, like you were talking about tapes back in the day, like, so you had this console and the console was just a bunch of channels ki इस पे एक mic होगा, इस पे एक mic होगा, इस पे
so
vocals है, हाँ exactly. One by one you have all the mics.
और वो level बस sound volume level आप बस adjust
adjusting the balance of everything. You're saying taking a little bit of bass away, you compress it a little bit on every individual channel, and then that's summed down to a stereo track. Okay, left and right. So जैसे we have headphones, एक left, एक right. So it would basically go through that console and it would be recorded to tape. And then once you had computers come into the picture and you had a digital audio workstation, so that computer becomes the tape. Okay, so like when you see Pro Tools mein or in any DAW you have like audio recordings left to right, that's basically what an emulation of tape. You know, like so it's basically just replacing that. And on the other side of the DAW you have the faders itself, so that's replacing this. In fact, like again, that's again another kind of high-level abstraction of like any software is an emulation of something.
Which is true.
Hardware.
Which
you know,
is
like
true.
You have Excel. Excel is an emulation of sheets.
Spreadsheet.
Yeah. You have Word. Word is an emulation of
a paper.
Anything. You have games which are emulations of whatever. That is like pretty obvious. Like you have Flight Simulator, whatever. But any sort of software is based on some idea of कि ये हमने करना था, and then उसका ये emulation करके, then how you're able to do whatever with it. But,
Makes sense. अच्छा, अब बताओ कुछ म्यूजिक में नया क्या बना रहे हो, क्या बनाया नया?
नया क्या बन रहा है is so I've been playing finally now after a few months. Like I was mostly in the studio producing some tracks. Most recently, we just had a release on Z Music. That's a song featuring Bawari Basanti, fantastic vocalist.
Yeah, what a artist. Nice different texture she has.
She's a absolutely amazing vocalist. Like I'm not even saying this because she's my friend. I genuinely feel she's one of,
बहुत अलग है यार. I really love her voice.
Beautiful, and also featuring my bandmate from Scavengers, Tony Gunnard.
Okay.
So he was the bass player in Scavengers. Hopefully someday Scavengers will play again as well.
Okay.
But this was a collaboration that the three of us. It happened very organically. You know, like I've been jamming with Tony. Ki
कुछ करते हैं bro.
दोस्ती यार में we hang out every now and then and we say what are we doing? Let's do something productive. Let's jam on something. So एक track बना and then we're like this is kind of interesting. This is a new take on. This is kind of reggaeton. What if we put some Indian elements into it? So I play mandolin, but I play mandolin. Mandolin is actually a Celtic instrument.
What is Celtic?
So Celtic is like it's a folk style of I want to say UK, not exactly UK, but like
Irish wala thing?
Yeah, Irish and Irish Celtic. Yeah. So it's not UK exactly, but like that old time.
Irish, Scottish.
Yeah. So
there's whiskey in the jar. उसमें I guess mandolin
है. Yeah. And there's a lot of commonalities between that and here you have Pahadi rhythms also. I'm not playing any chords right now, but like if I go 1 2 3 1 and a 1 and a 1 and a 2 and a. So you have these kind of rhythms which also relate to folk music out here. And over the years you'll have people like that. There's mandolin, Srinivas. So in fact it's common with a lot of Western instruments that when they were adopted in India, it's played in a completely different style. It has nothing to do with what Western. Suppose violin as well.
Yeah.
You have classical violin in India, which a Western classical violinist is going to be like, what is this? Like I don't know how to play this. Like it's unbelievable to them. So it's like a lot of instruments are, they're just completely adapted to an Indian style. So that's what I wanted to bring with the mandolin on that track. But
हमारे यहाँ आलाप का culture बहुत ज़्यादा है, which is not there.
Yeah. Sure.
They have vibrato, which we don't have.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. We have a lot of like different ways of
मुर्कियाँ, right? हमारी मुर्कियाँ. वहाँ vibrato है, हरकतें हैं.
बहुत अलग होती हैं.
वहाँ वो नहीं.
And so a lot of this, like my training wasn't really Indian music, but when I came and worked in Sushmit's studio for about a couple of years. This is post LA. As soon as I came back, within the first month, I met Sushmit at a show we were playing. Jazz show tha, Jazz Day ka in Blue Frog, and we met him. He said, you know what, I'm looking for someone to run my studio and to record and help produce my album. So I was like, I'm happy to do it. Like the first
Naukri, chalo.
Of course, let's do it. And so over there, what would happen is there were musicians of all all different walks and many
he was still with
classical
Indian
music.
Ocean that time?
He was with Indian Ocean and he had just like
On the verge of leaving.
Yeah, while I was there, that they kind of the last track that he did with Indian Ocean was on that Satyagrah soundtrack. So that I got to mix that soundtrack, and I wasn't very good. Although that mix is out there, you can listen to it. It's not great. I'll tell you right now. But for me, it was like, wow, a Prakash Jha ki movie. I'm getting to mix a track, and for me, it was like a huge deal. And basically, in that studio, I got to record and help produce a lot of classical musicians.
Okay.
So I would always be again in geek mode. Ki, Acha, ye kaise hota hai? This is something completely different. Like I've never.
And they have used classical instruments like anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
They like Indian Ocean as a band has always kept that vibe. They are still like. Even though Suchmit is not part of the band, they have still kept the vibe intact.
Even if he's playing guitar, like his approach to it is very different. It's like it's like this modal style, and being the
style.
like you call it modal, where like so.
These are this Lydian mode and all.
Sure, absolutely. So
ये वही है ना, मैं गलत तो नहीं बोल रहा हूँ.
Lydian mode. So that gives you like. So in Hindustani you would say. Tivrama, like I don't want to claim that I'm an expert of Indian classical.
But
in Western music theory, you'll call it a sharp 4. यहाँ पे you'll call it Tivrama. So उनका भी like sargam is like directly.
अच्छा सारेगामा इसलिए वहाँ भी 4 थे यहाँ भी 4.
Yeah, उसको sharp कर दिया. So that's a little different. And then there's a lot of commonalities. In fact, like you'll have a very common jazz scale is melodic minor. Okay, so like. If I'm to play melodic minor, but like you can find a lot of commonalities, and because at the end of the day, if it's theory, you can kind of work out. It's like math, like you can kind of work out. For me, at least, I'm trying to find commonality. How do I make sense of what's happening here?
I learned it very late in my life because like music is nothing but maths.
It is absolutely.
It is pure maths, bro. Like 1, 2, 4 अगर आपको आता है मतलब जो भी it's pure maths. मतलब you can just draw it.
Yeah.
मतलब गाना बन जाएगा.
And it's also like you could say it's fractal in that way because everything starts to fit together. Like you start seeing the common notes between everything. And then to a point where you're not really stuck to a scale. So there's one thing is diatonic music. Like anything that sticks to 7 notes in a scale is diatonic music. Then you have pentatonic scales, you have 5 note scales. So within these two, like there's a lot of commonalities that you start finding. And most pop music is diatonic. Okay, most, like. And if they do,
why? Because the human ear is
it's just more accustomed to. It sounds like it's within.
ये गाना है, ये pure गाना है.
Not just pure, like it's like it creates a space.
It sounds
and then
pleasing.
you're within that space. And like I feel like in pop music, you don't want to shock and awe people. Like it's more about pleasing someone, making someone feel.
There is no
ease.
shock factor basically.
Yeah, it's more about making someone feel at ease and feel कि अच्छा ये. It's so nice. Like you listen to pop music. What is expected is how nice, how melodic, nice. Versus like there's rock or metal where it's like all about shock and awe. Like how loud can you get? How gritty can you get?
Which is the genre you love the most? Which is like crazy.
My like fallback, my base level is blues.
Very soothing.
It always comes back to blues. Again, like so. You could say it's soothing, but so the blues over the years, like, is kind of where a lot of modern music it's evolved into what modern music is. So over the years, so first it was like, you had all these like random genres which I never even knew about. There were things like skiffle. Like I never knew what skiffle was until I said, Jimmy Page, who's the guitarist of Led Zeppelin, before he played in Led Zeppelin, he used to play in a skiffle band. And what is that? Like, and like you were saying, ska music. Like, what is ska? Like, even for me, like, I learnt about ska much later in life. And what I thought was ska, which was bands like No Doubt and like things like that.
No clue.
You would know who's that singer? I ain't no holla back girl.
Yeah.
No, that her original band was No Doubt, and that was like a ska punk band. So so there was a American ska punk, there's a British ska punk, and then we did the Indian ska punk. We said, okay, let's do our own version of it. But like, so there's a lot of these offshoots of genres, but it all kind of, any sort of guitar music is somehow rooted in blues. It went from that to classic rock. Classic rock said, Jimi Hendrix said, I'm going to turn it a little louder, I'm going to fuzz it out with the octave fuzz. Then it became, in the 80s, it became all about shred. You had all these extreme bands, like all 6-note, this acoustic is not the right thing to do.
Yeah, agreed.
But like,
ये अगर अभी amp में होता, गिटार मतलब इलेक्ट्रिक गिटार लगा होता, तो शायद जनता कांप गई होती आजू-बाजू. बढ़िया.
But yeah, so it kind of went from that, and of course there's always revivalist things. There's bands like the Black Keys which are keeping that up. But like for me, it's like there's a root. In fact, jazz and blues is also like it's brother and sister. You know, like without blues.
These are revolutionary genres, right?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, blues is it's a protest music.
It's a protest
music. And then as I got older, I said, okay, let me also working in Sushmit's studio, let me also learn about our own culture. You know, what's the point of me not knowing anything about this?
Yeah.
Like, so I spent time. Okay, what are in folk music? What are the protest songs? What is this music? What is baul? Baul song.
Dishahara kya monboka muntare.
So I learned about folk music as much as I can. I was trying to release a couple songs. Hopefully soon, sometime I can release a couple. Not baul, but
folk.
Rajasthani folk with Barmer boys. So I've got a couple tracks. I can make you hear them in private.
Wow.
But at some point, hopefully I can complete that with them. But yeah, so the idea was
next time your song is out, we'll surely get you on the podcast with the
I would love that.
Boys, and we're gonna jam the shit out of this place.
वो अभी तक I've been sitting with these 2 tracks for like about a year now. Hopefully at some point. So I'm not too pushy about it because I know they're
let it take some time.
Every now and then they come for a couple of days to perform, so I'd never want to push them also कि यार कर लो.
Let it bake slowly and then finally the cake will be ready.
Yeah, exactly.
Super. तो अभी एक बावरी बसंती के साथ
वो Z Music के through that's also an experience in itself. Like
it's a hardcore instrumental rock.
No, it's like my term for it is Afro Desi.
Okay.
It's like Afro beats, but
Desi vocals.
But yeah, it's like Sufi lyrics. Like it's like a Bulle Shah classic. But we adapted a chorus, like our own chorus to it.
Okay.
Song is called Savariye. You can check it out on everything, including Spotify. So Spotify just released. It released on Spotify day before.
Okay.
Apart from that, like last month was the release of my electronic music EP.
Okay.
Which is also very difficult, got nothing to do with guitar.
Okay.
Absolutely nothing to do with guitar. It's
so
all
that is
synths.
All.
So that's electronic and I'm singing.
Okay, very good.
So like it's a completely different thing.
Sadly, we do not have electric guitar today, and we did have a.
No, I don't want to make you feel guilty or anything. That's not my. I'm not. I know allow Nita. Like, but no, I'm just kidding. It's a very different kind of style, and the kind of thought behind it is after a long time, for the longest time I've been playing with bands.
Okay.
It was
no solo act.
No solo act ever really.
This is the first solo.
Well, yeah, it's for the last say like year and a half. I actually sat down and said, okay, I'm giving everyone this advice here, there, left, right, but like.
मैं क्या कर रहा हूँ?
Exactly. So it's time to do that, and a part of that is also kind of discovering what works for me. How does it work? So I make music in all kinds of genres, and at some point it's like,
what's my vibe?
Yeah, what's my vibe? If I put this out, like, am I the guitar guy or am I the guy who's the solo producer guy? So what ended up happening is that when I make electronic music, I'm the least dependent on third party. I don't want to make it sound like I'm avoiding that. Music is always about collaboration. It's always special to collaborate with people, but at some point, it has to be about your message, about what you're putting out. So that's kind of what clicked the most for that at the time. Who knows, the next track might be with Barmer Boys, it might be a jazz track. It depends on what I'm feeling.
I'll be so kicked up
in fact,
hearing a Rajasthani jazz.
There's like 3 tracks that are coming with a friend of mine, Tony from Scavengers. Again, those are a slightly different genre.
Okay.
So and we have some collaborations there as well. So my agenda is just to put as much music out as I can to do what I want finally. And for the longest time, I've been kind of working in the like service of acts. You know, कभी प्रतीक कुहाड़ के लिए sound कर दिया, कभी प्रदीप के लिए sound कर दिया, कभी सुष्मित सेन का studio चला लिया. And then after a point, I'm like, okay, this is work, and I get that. Like, but it's
Where is Chaitanya?
Yeah, exactly. Or
Where is
Chazz.
Chaitanya?
My Punjabi name is Chazz.
Chazz Bhalla.
Yeah. So where is Chazz? Like exactly. And in fact, there's a WhatsApp group called Where is Chazz? Like when I was a little younger, मैं गुम जाता था like कहीं.
Seriously?
Yeah, my phone बंद हो जाता था, like battery खत्म हो गई. So
and इस group में है कौन?
It's mostly my buddies and my mom.
Wow. She's the one asking.
Yeah, she's
the admin.
This is from many years ago. I'm quite responsible now at the age of 35. I'm like.
Super.
You know where I'm at.
On that note, I guess we'll end the episode. कुछ गाना वाना गाने का मन है तो दो line.
I would much rather if you picked out something from some ad, something, link something, let people go discover it on their own. Like me sitting, I could play you some songs, but like I feel that's kind of takes away from the.
What is your most comfortable song जो लगता है कि मतलब ये तो डेथ बेड तक में ये गाना हमेशा मुझे फेवरेट रहेगा? वो सुना दो.
Of any artist?
Any artist.
Like,
of yours.
So again, we kind of had this discussion earlier. I don't want to be that guy, but like as an artist, like if I end up playing somebody else's song, that's a disservice to myself. I feel.
Chalo,
I feel. You know what I mean? Like
point taken.
Like I don't want to be that pricey guy who's not playing anything. But this is more like this is just a tool for me.
Agreed.
Like
which makes sense.
You know what I mean?
On that note, I guess that's the end of this episode of Wassup Aabir. Thank you for being a part of this.
Thank you so much for
It
having
was lovely geeking out a lot of music theories and advertising, music for advertising with you.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Likewise.
Thank you.